So I started by adding 100% clear silicone to the top of the candle holder around the lip. I cleaned off any excess with my fingers and I placed it upside down on top of the other candle holder that's placed upside down. I went ahead and cleaned around it once again with my fingers. You can use a baby wipe, a wet towel, or a popsicle stick like I did for extra measure. I got these bowls at the Dollar Tree. They came 4 in a pack. And I'm going to measure the amount of plaster that I want with the bowl. And I'm going to use a bowl that I particularly don't want because it's going to stick to the bowl. And you want to stir this well. Now, I tweaked the recipe a little bit because I wanted it to be thick. As you can see, I don't like it very soupy and I wanted it to dry relatively fast. So I would recommend putting Gorilla Glue or some type of adhesive at the bottom of the bowl to ensure that the plaster does not slip out of the bowl once it's dry. After the plaster is fully dried, I took the bottom of the bowl and I sanded it to give it a rough edge to help the silicone adhere better to the bowl, being that it was a smooth plastic. I used a popsicle stick to make sure everything was smooth, and then I used the excess silicone on the top of the candle holder and then smoothed that out and then turn that upside down on top of the bowl, and that would serve as the bottom part of our lamp. Once again, just making sure everything is cleaned up. Once both pieces have dried, you can spray paint them. I use gold, but you can use whatever color your heart desires. Moving on to the fishbowl, I added some clear glue, a cap full of water, and some green food coloring. You can use whatever color food coloring you want, but this is a color I chose because I liked the green. When I grew up, I saw a lot of green in my grandmother's vintage stuff, so this gives me a little nostalgia. So you want to go ahead and pour that into the bowl, and you want to just tilt your bowl and just evenly coat that around the entire bowl. Once you've done that and you're satisfied, you're going to let it drain. You could use a cookie sheet or you can use a bowl like I did with popsicle sticks, and I just turn that upside down to let it drain. Now you could put this in the oven for about an hour at 175 degrees Fahrenheit, or you can do like I did and just use a heat gun or a blow dryer just to go around it to help loosen the paint, so to speak, or the coating, and just kind of get it to dry evenly. I let this sit after I hit it with a heat gun for a few hours, and it came out really pretty. Absolutely perfect. Once that had dried, I added silicone to the candle holder that was turned upside down. So I'm adding silicone to the bottom of the candle holder. Once again, just cleaning around the edges, making sure it's nice and clean, smoothing it out. And then once that is all smoothed out, I'm going to add the fishbowl to the top. You want to make sure this is nice and even because once you put it on, it will look even, but you got to kind of check around it to make sure it's not crooked. Using a wet paper towel or a baby wipe, clean around the seams to make sure all the silicone is smoothed out. This is also a good time to go around your fishbowl just to make sure that there's no silicone on the fishbowl. It's much easier to get it off now at this step than it would be to get off later on. You want to let it dry for about an hour or so. Once it's dried, you want to take the other part of your lamp and repeat the same steps. You want to add silicone to the inside lip and around the top edge of your lamp. So that way you could make sure that that fishbowl sits in there nice and evenly. And it's completely coated at the bottom of the fishbowl, so that way there is no breakage. Once again, just make sure that everything is nice and lined up and it is not crooked at all. For the light, I'm using these camping lights from Amazon. They come 4 in a pack. They're battery operated. I'm adding a little bit of glue, some colors. You can use whatever colors you want to make your light whatever color you want, but I wanted to give it a vintage look, give it a nice ambient hue. So I use a little bit of green, yellow, orange, red to get this color. And so once I've painted that on, I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same step using black acrylic paint and clear glue. You can use any PVC glue. And I just painted the rest of the lamp black because I want it to be aesthetically pleasing. After the paint is dried, the next step would be to take plaster and put it inside the top part of your lamp post. I've taken a light bulb, covered it in a balloon, and coated it with Vaseline so it won't get stuck. If it does get stuck after it's dried, just take the light bulb and screw it back into the base of the light. And without using excessive force, you should be able to easily remove it. So for the top of the lamp, I am using this top that I made myself, and I'm going to add a little bit of marker on the inside just so I can mark the point where I want to drill, so to make sure it's nice and even. So I drill just a little bit, and once I'm satisfied with that part, I went ahead and just spray painted my tops. Once the tops have been sprayed, I let them dry, and then I went over it a little bit with a little bit of gold paint just to kind of bring out some details in the lid. To make the lampshade, I'm using these bowls from the Dollar Tree. They come 2 in a pack, and I spray painted the inside with gold, just very lightly, just a little spritz. So I'm putting fabric onto the bowl, just one piece at a time, just a little bit of hot glue and just a thin piece of fabric. I'm going to double layer this fabric to give it a nicer effect, but I'm just adding glue to the top and to the bottom. Now, I didn't record this step, but the very top of the bowl is a hole. That hole will serve where the light bulb holder will go through and connect with the top of the lamp. All the way around the bowl, I added my fabric, my first layer, and I'm just securing it with just very light amount of hot glue. Once I've added my top layer on, I'm going to go over it with another layer of fabric. So I have 2 see-through types of fabric. I made several variations of these, but in this one I'm using nude and a nude polka dot fabric, as well as nude at the bottom and then a black lace fabric on top. Although you can use whatever type fabric you want, I use see-through fabric because I wanted to ensure that the light illuminates through the lampshade. Moving on to the second step of this, we would need to add hot glue along the seams of the fabric. We are going to add I believe it's Chinese braided cord down the seams. I'm using black. Again, you can use whatever color you want. You're going to add the cord around the entire lampshade between each seam that you've added fabric. You want to ensure that the lampshade is nice and glued on because this is what's going to secure your fabric. Once you've done that step, you want to go around the bottom of your lampshade with scissors and just trim away any excess fabric. Lamp on. Using hot glue, I just went ahead and pressed that on, and then making sure that it's nice and evened out. I'm adding glue into the center, and I'm going to take the light bulb clamp and push that in there and hold it until it dries. Make sure you use a generous amount of glue when you do this step. So now I'm going to take the cord and go around the seam between the top of the lamp and where the fabric meets, just to cover up those nasty seams and all that hot glue. And so you just want to go around the entire top of the lamp doing this and just cut it with a pair of scissors. And while the hot glue is still hot, you have the ability to kind of push and manipulate that seam to make sure that it's closed and it looks proper. Now around the bottom part of the lamp, you're going to add more hot glue, and then you're going to take your frill and you're going to wrap your frill around this. Now we're going to cover the top part of the frill with more braided cord, so just go ahead and add it on the best way you can. If the glue does come through the little stitches, because we're going to go ahead and cover it anyway with the braided cord going around the bottom part. After attaching the frill to the base of the lampshade, you want to go back around with the braided cord. Make sure that when you're adding the glue, you add the glue on top of the areas that you've added glue already, when you add it on the frill. You want to check it to make sure if there's any problems, and if not, it's time to move on to the second step. Go ahead and attach that beautiful lampshade onto the light bulb and check out your hard work. It is amazing. I was so I cannot specify how satisfied I am with this lamp. Really fun to make, really easy to make, really cost effective. As always, it's just absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful. I use these for my daughter's graduation party. It was a 1920 Gatsby theme, and they just knocked everyone out the water. People just were taking these home as souvenirs. I really enjoyed this craft, and I really thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and do whatever it takes to show your support on this channel. I really thank you for taking the time to stop by and watch my video. I really appreciate the support, and I hope that we meet again. But until then, take it easy.